podcast may contain mature themes. And if you're not down with that, we got 3 words for you. Like the podcast. Nailed it!
And we are back, episode 2, Fall Starts. Chris Shipley here with my podcast partner, Bill Blank, throwing the flag, calling a penalty on men's mental health. Bill, how the hell are you tonight?
I'm good, man. How have you been the last couple of weeks? Everything going well?
It's going as well as can be expected. Some ups and downs, but we'll get there. We'll get there. It's helped. It's helped that I was going to say it's helped that I know that there's people out there that got it worse than I do, but that doesn't sound like it comes out very well.
What a fucking dick.
I know, right? You just take your blessings, I guess. It could be a lot worse, right? I guess that's what I meant. Holy shit, that was a terrible segue.
Was that one of your boys, the intro thing?
Yeah, that's Joshua. That's the backstory behind that is it took him about 7 times to get that right, and he had finally so excited that he got it right that he yelled nailed it, and I was like, now I got to keep that. So
absolutely,
it's awesome. So
they're wrestling fans, right?
They are big WWE wrestling fans.
Dude, you got to bring them to see my son.
I know. That's we should
happen.
Do that. Yeah,
Jackson King.
They would love that. Yeah, so we are super excited to bring on our guest, and Bill, I'll let you introduce your friend and guest, and go from there.
Yeah, this is a comic friend of mine. That's going to be the kind of the beauty of this whole situation, man. I've toured the country for 20 plus years at this point, and I get to run into a lot of people, and the funniest people in the world are also having some of the worst battles, and sometimes that's why we are as good as we are at what we do. It's why some of us are so much more generous than others. And this dude, Tim Loulies, is a guy that I met in Virginia Beach probably 10 years ago. We've remained in contact over the years. We just worked together that one time, but we hit it off really well. And I've watched him on Facebook. We've kind of watched each other, and Tim's just had some recent battles, and Tim's passionate about the mental health of men, just like we are, and normalizing that and talking about it. And he's also one of the most generous and open people I know. So, Tim, welcome, man. Is there anything you want to get into right away? You got something you want to say? Or you just want to say hi?
Absolutely. First, thank you for the kind welcome, and fuck the Dallas Cowboys.
Oh, you motherfucker!
Oh my God, that was my favorite. It was my favorite host already.
I told you, man. Hey, man. Hey, let me say something back to Bill. Okay, let me tell you something. I don't dislike the team Dallas Cowboys. Of course, they're a rival. I'm a Washington fan. I dislike their fans, but there are about a handful of based, knowledgeable, realistic Cowboy fans, and Bill Blank's one of them. We've gotten into heated discussions about politics, football, that stuff, but it always comes back to a mutual respect, and he's always realistic about his team. Also, for one thing, I don't know shit about Iowa Hawkeyes football, but I love watching Bill's timeline on Saturdays in the fall. I love this fat man, and I know you're like a legend at the games and stuff.
I don't know about all that.
You're like, fuck the referees.
Infamous.
Referees, let's kill this motherfucker. Like, you know what I'm saying? I love it, man. I love that rabid, just, man, it's just all out, man. I don't give a shit about Midwest football. But you know what I'm saying? But I love watching his timeline, man. You know what I mean? I'm a Clemson fan. You know what I mean? I was a Clemson fan way before they got good. Back when I was I live in Virginia. Everybody was on the Virginia Tech stick. You know what I mean? But I was always a Clemson fan. Got right from here. We got our time. But I love just watch. I specifically turn my notifications on for Bill during the fall. To hear the Iowa football shit, man. And thank you, man. And I remember working with you, man. And I know this looks familiar to you. I'm here
Oh,
in
yeah.
Vajibi's Funny Bone Green Room tonight.
Yes, sir.
I was actually looking for your name earlier.
I think it's in front of the desk.
Really, I am at
Are
the
you
desk.
sitting at the desk?
Oh,
Yeah.
yes. Let's see. Is it?
I think it's in there somewhere.
Okay.
Maybe not.
It's right
Yeah.
underneath
Like,
that.
it's
right
in
underneath
between.
that picture of that dick. That was
Yeah,
on the
there's
wall.
plenty of dicks, plenty of.
So I specifically wanted to do, bring it here just to give you a little nostalgia and shit.
Yeah, for
It's
sure.
funny, like you're talking about how you work around the country. I've worked around the country too, and it's funny. It's just certain people you really click with, and you remember, and you just really stay in touch for a long time.
Mm.
And I'm really glad. And I also, you talk about your son earlier. I remember when before he even first got into wrestling, he had asked me, because I do an in-ring talk show with Virginia Championship Wrestling and stuff, and he was asking me for some advice. I was like, first of all, dude, I'm just a what you call an enhancement talent. You know what I mean? I'm a mic guy. I was like, I can't help it. I was like, but I gave him the name of a couple of wrestling schools that I know in the Midwest and stuff. And I followed him ever since. Thank you for putting me on to him. I tried to give him a little bit of knowledge of the vaccine stuff.
Sure.
But I'm very, hey man, I know you got to be a proud father, because that dude's out there. He's out there busting his ass. He's also did he just do like a kickboxing?
Yeah, that was his
won,
first
right?
real fight. He did win. He came out like dropping haymakers. Like
I saw the video.
I didn't
man.
see it go. He hit way harder than I thought, and his chin was much better than I ever imagined. I mean, he ate a lot of shots and kept moving forward, and he got a knockdown in the second round. Third round, he was just gassed, but he got, it was just get through without getting knocked out, basically.
I saw like a video. I know he posted a video like a minute long, and all I saw was them just racking each other in the face. I didn't see no kicks. I was just waiting for a kick to happen, but these dudes are just slugging it out, just tagging. I was like, what? I was like, when's somebody gonna kick somebody in the damn face, man?
Yeah. But that's probably the least amount of kicks I've ever seen in a kickboxing match in my life. It might have been 10 total the whole fight.
And how old is he?
He's 20. He'll be 21 in May.
Dude, he's getting in the right.
Well, hell, he's the same age. He is the same age as the boys in.
Yeah.
Oh, the boys would love him then.
Yeah,
we definitely set that up.
And he's he's worked. So I'm so proud of how hard he's worked. And I mean, we talked about this on the last episode. Like, it was funny, I didn't eat for a couple of days before. I was a wreck, like wrestling. When he's doing the pro wrestling thing, it's not, I don't have near the anxiety because it's a show, and no matter what's going on. And I know that, and Tim, you know this. I mean, they do beat the fuck out of each other. Yeah. They are beating each other's asses. The difference is, their number one job is to protect each other at the end of the day. Yeah. And when you get into when now it's kickboxing, now it's real fighting, and now the object is to whoop the other dude's ass for real, knock him out if you can. So obviously I'm not eating for a couple of days, and it reminded me of just, I played a little bit of college baseball. I mean, I at least played serious high school baseball. So, I mean, I had nerves. I had times, but it reminded me of that, because about an hour before the show, I just wanted blood. Like, I wasn't scared. I was no more anxiety. As soon as the bell rang, I'm like, knock this motherfucker out. Let's go.
Well, about the wrestling too, somebody had this conception that, oh, they're bouncing around on the mat. Let me tell you something, man. You got about that much foam, and then it's wood. It's 2x4.
Yep.
You know what I mean? And so I've taken a bump before. It's you know what I mean? It's not, those guys put their body on the line, and this could probably maybe be another podcast, but there's so many similarities. And I teach this in my comedy class here at the Funny Bone in Richmond and Virginia Beach, that professional wrestling and stand-up comedy, take the physical element out of it. It's so similar. You got to connect. You got to have your own thing. You know what I mean? You got to have your signature style. Mm-hmm. But those guys go through a lot of the same bullshit that stand-up comics have to do for many years without no money.
And a lot less money even than us.
Yeah.
And a lot less money than and political as shit. You know what I mean? They got a battle. They got it's the same stuff. That's a whole nother podcast. We could maybe talk about some other time. But
and you jump in there with that, along with time away from family, time on the road, which probably affects your personal relationships and your mental health. right?
Yeah.
So
And there's so many people I know. Bill knows there are so many people that I'm sure he knows and I know that had all the talent in the world, but they had family obligations. They couldn't go without. They couldn't travel without it. They can't take the comedy to other cities or get on the road, and the careers are cut short because of that, and it sucks. So yeah, it is. So for those that do it, stand up and professional wrestling, it's a major sacrifice on your social life, family life, everything.
100%. A lot of people don't understand that, and I tried for years to live in both worlds. I was very adamant about having that family when I got home off the road, and like being it when I was home, and it was normal. I was a normal dad, husband, all that when I was home. And when I was on the road, that's a whole nother world, and I'm out doing that. But I can't. I mean, there were times where I was driving 20 hours overnight to get back for a softball game or a baseball game, or I didn't want them to resent what I did. But then it comes at the expense when you're home. The more you're gone, the less you're there for your family. The more you're home, the less money you're making for your family. And it's like no one can truly be happy. Because when I'm home, I'm like, shit, where's my next paycheck coming from?
mm-hmm.
When I'm on the road, I'm like, shit, is she cheating on me again?
Oh, hey man, I live in the Navy. I live in a Navy town, man. So,
yeah, the fucking. Hey, the beauty of Virginia Beach? I was in. I think this was the last time I was there. Maybe if I remember right. I was with John Hinton, and it was when Iowa beat Ohio State like 55-17 or something, whatever game that was. And John is a big Ohio State fan, and so we watched the game. And John got up and went to the hotel at halftime. And the next day we were walking to PF Chang's or some shit for lunch. And I actually had this shirt on. And it's a Navy town. So there's always people from, dude, like people were rolling down their windows. Good game yesterday. Go Hawks. Like I was part of it. Like, hey, good game.
Yeah.
Fuck yeah, good game, bro. And fucking John's just, man.
Speaking of him, man, I worked with him several times. Awesome guy, man.
He is.
Awesome.
He's a beautiful, beautiful human, man. I love him.
Yeah.
Absolutely love him. But, while I'm thinking about it, we should let's go through your last month or so. I mean, it starts way before a month ago, but, you put up a post on Facebook last week, I think, late last week. That was very long, and it took me until the other day to read the whole thing. Like I read a bunch of it, and I was like, man, I'm gonna start crying or something. So like I'm gonna go back, and it took me about 3 times to emotionally get through the whole thing. Some of that because of how much I care about you, but also because of the mirror that turned, that's one of those posts that puts a mirror in front of a lot of people if they're willing to look at it.
At first I thought when I was just airing out, I thought I was just going on a rant, and it's one of those things where you hit, once you post, you're like, should I really be talking? Should I really be telling people this? And then the reactions started coming, the comments started coming. My phone, I was getting text messages, I was getting Facebook messengers, DMs. I was getting them, all that stuff, and it was people all over in comedy, all across the country. It was a lot of people in the professional wrestling business that I didn't expect, to reach out to me. People that I thought that I actually like in the locker room maybe didn't like me. You know what I mean? Because it's a little bit territorial. It's kind of like when when like a celebrity comes into of another genre, comes in to do stand up. You know what I mean? So when I come in from a world of stand up comedy and I'm on the mic, I'm getting on the screen time. Sometimes guys in the locker room that aren't familiar with me, they give me a little heat. But I was getting messages from them telling me, hey man, it's something I've done before. You know what I mean? I appreciate you sharing that. It really hits home with me. or one of my colleagues, family member. It's like I started getting so many messages like that, and it was really, I felt like I was the right thing. You know what I mean? And it was a story, man, and it was something that, I didn't realize that I was teetering on the line of death. Here I was going through this whole 8-month process to get the sleeve surgery, which is a weight loss surgery. And I had to make a lot of lifestyle changes leading up to that for insurance to cover it.
Yeah.
And it was psychiatric stuff. It was nutrition education. It was so many things, and I had to abstain from alcohol. And hopefully no one at hopefully no one at Blue Cross Blue Shields is watching this, but during the holidays I was getting it in. I was having a little fun again. You know what I'm saying? But there was a day I had to cut it off. And, it's like the psychiatrist that I was working with was telling me, it's like, you shouldn't be on Xanax this long, because I was on it already since 2016. And it's like, this isn't meant to be long term. There should have been an alternative presented to you. And I was all the way up to a full milligram. And so I was just thinking, my doctor, when you get I think a lot of people know that if you get prescribed opioids or things like Adderall and controlled substances, they give you the Narcan. Hey, if you have problems, make sure you take this. If you overdose or whatever. And that's really all they tell you. They don't really tell you, like, if you're gonna quit, how to quit. You know what I mean? So it's just a little pill. So I just figured that, all right, I'm gonna stop. Yeah, and I did it a couple of days before Christmas, and all the stuff that started building up, I was getting really moody. I was going sleep deprivation. And I started to become very, like, I talk about it in person. I was being obnoxious to people. I was being clingy to people. I was being impatient. I was being paranoid. And all this stuff I thought was building up to the stress of me giving up alcohol. Because with this surgery, I can't drink for like another year and a half. I can't drink alcohol, because they say that if you drink one shot of liquor, it's the equivalent of 3 lines of cocaine. And then you're drunk as shit. It goes to your system, and then you can do it all over again. So it's like 30 minutes later you're back sober, and then you could do it again, and it becomes.
That sounds like the greatest party surgery in the history of the fucking world.
That'd be a hell of a
Tim, that is true. I did not have the sleeve. I had the full Rouen 12 years ago.
Okay.
And I can tell you a story of one night where I had 2 shots of tequila, and that was. You can just feel it just seep right into your blood.
Do you realize fucking rich kids are gonna start getting this surgery for spring break?
That's what I'm saying. It'll make a hell of a Super Bowl party, man.
Yeah, just once a year.
Teams
new
losing,
sleeve once a year.
Teams losing, get drunk as shit. Don't forget about it. By the time you're sober, you made it right. You came back. Sure.
And here I thought I was gonna have to pour it in my asshole.
So all this was building up. And, like I said, I teach a class, and here in Virginia, Beach and Richmond. Richmond was pretty cool. But here in Virginia Beach, sometimes when you're teaching these classes, you get people that just, eventually as the class goes on, they start to believe they know more than you. You know what I mean? So I was getting a little bit of that, and I was getting people who weren't applying themselves. And then I show up for the final class before the graduation show, and they all come in and they nailed it. Like it was like night and day from the week before, and they came in and nailed it and all this shit. And also our ticket sales were low. I was coming in tonight, and I was like, man, I'm gonna lay into them. I gotta get there. I gotta, you know what I mean? I gotta make a statement to them. You know what I mean? I'm like, do y'all want to do fucking stand-up comedy or not? Like, I had this whole thing planned out of what I was gonna say, and they did so great. I sat in front of them to talk, and I lost it. Lost it.
Super emotional.
Yeah, dude. It was like something I couldn't speak. It literally took me 20 minutes to get words out of my mouth. And so that ended up being a rally for them. They ended up running around. We almost sold the fucking show out. It really bonded us. But at the same time, I was like, is this really me stressing over my surgery and the drastic lifestyle change I'm making? Or is something else going on? And then several other things happened that I don't want to get into, but it's just things after another. And then I've never in my life heard voices before, right? And this is when I knew that I need to step back from social media and human interaction because things aren't getting right. And you know what I mean? And it's funny. I don't know how much you watch wrestling, Bill, or you do, Chris. The Randy Orton song, I hear voices in my that shit.
Mm-hmm.
I started hearing Randy Orton's voice. You know what I'm saying? And these voices were saying things like, "You stupid piece of shit." You know what I mean? Like just like put me down. Like, you know, your father was right, because my father mentally abused me. Shit like that. Like things that I was like, who the fuck is saying this shit? Why ain't you taking that pill? You know what I mean? Things would be so much better if you just fucking took the pill. You know what I mean? And my anxiety, I couldn't. It was just, and so and then this is when things started getting scary. As you know, I went to the week before to get labs before my original surgery date. They were saying, hey, listen, you know, your blood count, your white blood count is pretty elevated. If you have any symptoms, you need to come in. And that following Saturday, 2 days before my surgery, it got really bad. And I went in and that shit shot up almost to 30,000. It was like 28 something. And that's when they started saying, hey, look, you know, we're going to give you something. But this doesn't get you right in the next couple of hours. We're admitting you, and this could get, you know, we're concerned. You know what I'm saying? And so I was like, fuck. I was like, you know, my surgery is going to get delayed. I got work coming up. I got road dates. I got classes. I got all this shit. I was like, it's going to fuck everything up. And I just started getting nuts, man. Like the next day, I just started like just angry at everything, everybody, everything, angry at myself. And it just, at that time, you know, I've been for a while, I've been trying to get into, you know, more holistic stuff, more holistic approaches. And it's because the pharmaceutical industries, they have us by the balls here. They have us by the throats, man. They have everybody. Yeah. It's just,
you're talking like meditation stuff.
Yes. So that's what I want to get transferred to. So I've had friends and everything, and I've talked about it for a long time with different people and different options. And it was that point I said, man, I was like, this is going to get really bad if you don't sit down and do something about it. So I sat down in front of my TV and I sat and it was this old, I just Googled guided breathing, right? And it's this old British dude that does this thing called the Wim Hof technique. And what it does is it makes you do 30 inhales and exhales. And then you hold your breath for a minute. And then it eventually builds up to a minute and a half. Now, I got to tell y'all something. Just a couple months before, I went to go get some imaging done. And they had to stop the imaging in the middle of it because I couldn't even hold my breath for 19 seconds.
Wow.
When I went through this breathing exercise in a minute, and he said to hold your breath, I was like, there's no way that can happen. And he starts, as you're holding your breath, he starts telling you to notice and feel certain parts of your body. Be aware of your, you know, your surroundings. Be aware of your body. Where's the pain? All this stuff. And that 1 minute won't shit. And then it eventually got up to a minute and 30. It's like your mind took over at that point and your lungs didn't even exist. I mean, they weren't putting no strain on your lungs, and it was nothing. Now, I only made it was so intense. That first time I did it, I only made it to the 4th round. And since then, since I've been doing it, I made it up to 6. And eventually, I think past that, it's 11 rounds. I think past it eventually gets up to 2 minutes. But man, it hit me like a head rush. Like if you've ever done a whip it before, like I know y'all are old school, but you know, if you ever done a whip it, like it hits you like that.
I've heard it described. I've actually never done a whip it, believe it or not, but yeah, I've heard I know what you mean.
I fell back in my seat and was like, whoa. I was like, all right, I got to put this on pause. Like it was like, and then I felt the most amazing calm. You know what I mean? And one reason I was on the Xanax for so long was sleep, because sometimes when I go to sleep, my anxiety builds up so high. I don't trust myself to go to sleep. So that's what I use it for. And that night, man, I had some of the best sleep. And then I started to get into to meditation with the guided meditation and stuff like that. And then I got into another breathing technique called the breath of life, where you pull up your breath from the chakras, hold it for 7 seconds, and then you say certain words of affirmations of whatever you need areas you need to heal. And just I was planning on taking a full, because then I did find out good news. My surgery only got delayed 1 week. I said, you know what? I'm going to stay off social media. I'm not going to get on there. I'm not going to log on. I'm not going to do this shit. And listen, that Sunday night, let me tell you how serious this is because that was the night also where the Cowboys lost to the Niners. And believe me, I watched the game. I wanted to get on and drag. But I was like, you know what? I was like, this isn't the time. I was like, there's more important issues here.
Yeah,
You know what I'm saying?
kick everybody while they're down. Like ain't shit wrong with you, motherfucker.
Yeah, but that whole week, man. Let me just tell you something. And then that whole week, and then I just started. I have a good friend of mine, Dave Katash, who's got a good social media following. He put something out for me, and through because he tagged me, so many people saw it through my timeline, and that's how I started getting all the messages. Wow, the night before the hospital, while I was in the hospital, all this stuff, and then I was just like, when I came back, a day later, I was like, man, there's so much love out there. I can't not respond to this.
Sure.
And so I came back to social media about a week earlier than I planned. But let me tell you, man, if you've never, it's something I'm probably going to do a little bit more often, because a break from social media feels wonderful, man. It feels great. It's so therapeutic just to tap out, or just to remove yourself from, the people's opinion.
I remove myself for days at a time. Period. I haven't taken any, I've never taken like a conscious hiatus where I was just like, I'm not going to post for a while. I'm not going to pay attention for a while. But I take that back. I take breaks from posting for days at a time.
Okay.
But I definitely look at it every day, multiple times.
Looking at it, I found looking at it is the worst, man. Like, stating your opinion or whatever, and people interact, and you may get dude, I get banned so much. Like, a lot of my posts, I'm surprised the post I made, that long one, even made it that many people, because I've been shadow banned so much. I'm shadow banned right now just because I said something about the fucking balloon. I said something about, I was like, if you shoot down a balloon, it might have COVID in it, or the next virus that was made in a lab or something like that. And they restricted by, I was like, geez, and they also banned, it's funny too, that long post y'all were talking about, I got a ban from them for 24 hours because they said I was promoting the use of drugs and alcohol and firearms or some shit. And I was banned from it, but the post is still up and people were still talking, interacting, but I couldn't do
crazy.
shit with it.
Yeah.
I was like, what the fuck? So it's like, I think, because I said something there about the pharmaceutical industries.
Oh,
and
sure.
I think that's what they got, you know what I'm saying? So, but, and then I talk another thing in there too, which Bill, like for performers. And I think everybody, man, needs to get into this. Like I had a student of mine in Virginia Beach that said, put me on to that night when I had broke down to him and everything, he was into meditation and all this stuff. He put me on to this technique of creating an alter ego. Right. And he gave me this book, and I looked at this like, hey, that looks cool. But a lot of times with that shit, I'm like, okay, yeah, I look into it.
Sure. I did that with the Bible probably 30 times.
Yeah. So then I go up and do my show in Richmond, and I'm doing a pre-show talk, and I just mention it. And one of my students, obviously it resonated with her or something. And then she got fantastic, and later on told me, hey, you just mentioned that made me want to try it. And that was me up there. And that's why, and she stole the show. So I was like, there's got to be something to this. You know what I'm saying? And so I looked into it, and basically, in a nutshell, I don't want to give out away the whole book. By the way, it's this particular book. It's called The Alter Ego by Todd Herman. All right, and it's very sports based. Right. And let me tell you how it captured me right off the bat. When I started listening, I got so amped. I started shooting people messages like, "Hey man, you gotta look at this. You gotta look I paused it in chapter 2 and just started shooting it everywhere with my text. Like, oh man, hey y'all gotta check this out. Like everybody I know is a performer." And because what he does is he starts off about how he's a motivational speaker. He's in a green room with Bo Jackson. He's about to go up to speak, and Bo Jackson, he meets him. He says, "Hey man, I won so many games with you on Tecmo Bowl, all this shit." Yeah. So Bo Jackson just says, "Well, what are you going to talk about?" And he says, "Well, I'll talk about how to create an alter ego." And he said, "Let me tell you something." He says, and this is Bo Jackson speaking. He says, "Bo Jackson never played a down of football in his life." He's like, "That was Jason Voorhees." So what Bo Jackson did when he was young is he took on the alter ego. Every time he stepped on football, he took on the alter ego of Jason Voorhees from Friday the 13th. And he went out there to plow with people, to murder people. You know what I mean? And then in the second chapter, it basically, this gives a kind of little description of it. It's like, it says that, say for example, if you're a performer and you're on stage, if you go up there as an alter ego and you're in tune with your alter ego, anything that happens up there, whether you bomb or whatever, when you get off stage and you get back into you, that poor performance doesn't fall on you. The alter ego did that. You know what I mean? So it takes pressure off of you as a person. Like you didn't fail. You didn't fail. That's your alter ego that did it. And then later on, it talks about what really resonated with me is because, I wear a shirt on stage, and I don't go by a stage name, but my social media, I used to, but I go, Big 44 Comedy is where you can find me on all social media. The number 44 is something that's really, it's a long story, but it's something that's really important to me. By the way, it comes from John Riggins, by the way. That's my childhood hero.
Yep.
So,
sure.
So anyways, it talks about having an artifact, whether it's a piece of jewelry, whether it's any inanimate object. It can also be a piece of clothing. And all these years, I never knew that I was doing this alter ego shit. I was wearing this shirt with a 44 on it. That's my artifact. Yeah. And I whether I'm on the stage performing as a comic, or I'm in the ring as the heel, the bad guy, or even when I'm teaching, that's not Tim Loulies. You know what I'm saying? That's another person I've been making. You know what I'm saying? And this whole time, and this just all makes sense. And you could do it in so many different avenues of your life. You know what I mean? It's just, it hit me. So when I went into the hospital the night before, I really got depressed, got the breathing technique. Okay, when I went to the hospital that day, man, I didn't go in as Tim Loulies. I wasn't scared. In that post, if you see, it was like I felt like I was fucking Steph Curry going in there to rain threes and win a championship. That was my mentality. And my doctor said because of that infection was caused by stress beating down my immune system. Mm-hmm. They were concerned that could have tore away that could have tore away the lining of my heart, and that they were concerned with the surgery went from low risk up to much more elevated. Mm-hmm. And so there's a lot of concern, but my doctor, he was concerned, but he said after surgery, he said, man, your body responded so much better than I expected. And I really think it was that mentality in my mind going in there like that. You know what I mean? Like, hey, I'm coming in championship mode. You know what I mean? And it just, but during that time, man, there were so highs, and the January started off with highs. You know, I mean, graduation show, I love teaching. And when I love it when we get to the climax and we're there at the graduation show to find out. And I love seeing the feeling and the joy that these people are experiencing of going up and crushing it in front of their family and friends. And all of them, both classes, all 20 some students did amazing. I love seeing that, man. It's a feeling that you can't explain. And so the month started off great, and then just started crashing. It started bad thing after another bad thing, bad decision after bad decision, saying shit to people you shouldn't say. It's just, man, it was wild, man. It was really wild. And so I just had to put it out there. And, I know a lot of people say, a lot of people don't like it when people overshare, you know what I mean? But I felt like that I needed to do that.
It's funny that you say that. I'm going to take a quick break, and then I want to come back and circle back on that point right there that you just said, because I just had a conversation with somebody about that, and I had posted something much smaller, but it kind of fits into what you were saying. So let's take a quick break. We want to take a break and listen to Revelton Distilling Company in Osceola, Iowa. They're one of our primary sponsors, and then we'll come back with Tim and Bill. So.
At Revelton Distilling Company, everyone has become a part of the Revelton family. From the Taylors and their daughter who helped perfect their award-winning gins, to the team who installed Lucy, our 33-foot-tall custom-made still, right down to the local farms that provide our coveted corn, and even the cows on those farms who consume our mash byproduct. Want to see the farm to flask come to life? Now you can tour Lucy and find out where we take Iowa's harvest and transform it into our finest spirits. Choose between a 45-minute tour or find out even more by scheduling a VIP behind-the-scenes tour to get the taste of the full Revelton experience. You can visit them at 1400 West Clay Street in Osceola, Iowa, or find all of Revelton's award-winning experience.
Okay, we are back. Let me switch. I'm not very good at these transitions. I'm still working on them. Before we took that break, we got a couple of people with some shout outs. You got Mike Gordon that says hi.
So, yo.
MG, that's my boy.
There you go. And then we've got David. He wanted to say what up.
Yes, that's my man right there that came and visit me in the hospital and did everything on social media. That's my dude.
Awesome. Cool. And then Jordan.
Okay.
What's up, Tim? There we go. All right. We got people at least.
Thanks for tuning in.
That's all right. Thanks for listening. So before
build small, baby, you start small.
Right? I know, right? Before we took that break, you were talking about whether or not you should have shared it, and sometimes people overshare. And it's funny because I just had this conversation actually with my wife the other day because she just does not share things online, right? She's not, and I am. I talk about things. I go on a podcast. I have a daily morning podcast. I'm pretty open with things that have gone on, and I had posted the other day just something that I said, something to the effect of, "You ever been sad about being sad, and you don't know why you're sad, but you don't want anybody to worry about you being sad because then they'll be sad." Like that's kind of where I was, right? Like I got a lot of nice comments and things like that. And really, sometimes I'm not putting that out there for sympathy. I just, at this point, just like need to scream into the void, right? Like that's what it is. I need to get it out and then it's over and I move on. But then you see people start to comment and you think, there's other people that feel that way. You know what I mean? And they do need to hear that and they do need to see that and the vulnerability. So to your point, when you said, do I overshare or whatever, I think it's okay to talk about that because I do think other people need to hear that.
The only people that say you overshare are the ones that don't want. It makes them uncomfortable. Makes them uncomfortable. It's about them. It's not about you. You're the one that gets to decide if you've overshared or not.
Yeah.
You
talk about like, I know that both of you guys are married, obviously.
I'm not anymore, no.
Okay.
I'm on my second wife.
It's really challenging when you're in your early 40s dating with mental illness because I think a lot of times people mistake mental illness for insecurities.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And like, I was dating the last girl I dated. I think she was at the time. I think she was like 34, 35. And this is also, it's not just for young people, whatever. It's even the 30s. It's like she had told me one time in a discussion, I was just having a bad day. I don't know what I was talking. I don't know if it was comedy or whatever. I remember her saying to me, she said, "I have enough insecurities of my own. I don't need to hear yours." And that to me, I was like, at the time, I was like, "Oh man, you better man the fuck up. You better, yeah, she's right. You don't need to be doing that." But then I was like, man, as a man, how am I supposed to? Yeah, women talk about how they love a man that's vulnerable and they love a man that's sensitive and all this. And that's bullshit. You know what I'm saying? Really, and I'm sorry, I'm not trying to say all women, you know what I'm saying? But if you're a single woman in your 30s, 40s, whatever, you know what I mean? Unfortunately, us men, we kind of piss in our pool because so many women at that age are damaged because of past relationships from a dude fucking them over and almost putting them in a state of mental illness. You know what I mean? And let me just tell you something.
Right.
Like as a dude, for me, like
it's like PTSD. Everybody's got PTSD from something else.
Yeah, and like let me just tell you something. Me, my challenges. You know what I'm saying? At 400 pounds. You know what I'm saying? Which I'm about to go under. At one time during the pandemic, I was up close to 5. So you know what I mean? I'm definitely, and with the surgery, man, I'm feeling it, man. I'm in the gym. It's going down. You know what I mean? So. But anyways. At that time and all that stuff, you know what I'm saying? It's like it's really difficult because the first challenge is you got to break through the physical flaws to attract someone. And once you attract someone, you're on thin ice if you have, as a man, that if you have mental illness, because you know what I'm saying? It's like you can only fuck up like once or twice. And if she could go get a better option, you know what I mean? The difference in understanding with women, understanding or being with a man is 6 foot and over and nice features with tattoos. You know what I'm saying? Now that guy ain't on thin ice. He's on solid pavement.
Right.
And his narcissistic behavior can inflict mental damage on that woman, and she's gonna take. You know what I'm saying? But for me,
she ends up with that whatever that syndrome is where you're relying on you're the hostage and your captor.
Yeah,
Stockholm syndrome.
Stockholm syndrome. That's it. That's the one I was looking for.
I gotta be perfect. You know what I'm saying? I got to be perfect. You know what I mean? And what makes it even worse, y'all? You guys, what he was just talking about, Bill, you were just talking about earlier about this. I live in an area, a region. It's the biggest military base in the world. We got everything here: Navy, Marines, Coast Guard, Army. We got it all. Air Force, right? So per the census in my area, it's 4 dudes to 1 woman. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
So the ratio is already fucked against me. You know what I'm saying? And all I see is like when I see these women online all the time talk about how men cheat. I got cheated on. I really think here in the Hampton Roads area, which if you didn't know, this is 7 cities collectively as a region, the Hampton Roads area. I think there's about 8 dudes out there fucking about 150,000. You know what I'm saying? It's got to be, man. It's got to be one dude just running through them all, man. You know what I mean? And all the girls are here too. Oh, I ain't gonna date no man in the military. I ain't gonna date no man. So you don't want the man with benefits, but you want the dude without a driver's license. Still, it's a dishwasher, fucking 30 fucking years old, 36 years old, some shit like that. You know what I'm saying? But it's hard, man. It's like as a man, it's like really, man, when you but it's funny too. It's like with this post I made, I had so many women that contact me also saying, you know, wow, that was really brave of you. You know what I mean? All that stuff, you know, it's, I'm not saying I got any numbers from it or any, you know, it wasn't that successful. I mean, you know, it's just,
you're the bravest guy I've ever had in my friend zone.
Exactly. So it's like, man, dude, it's tough, man. It really is tough. And I do believe, though, the stigma of mental illness has definitely gotten better than what, you know, than it was in the 90s, and 80s and shit. And our parents' generation, you know what I'm saying? Because I have family members, you know, and my father, they should have went to seek help a long time ago. I don't mind seeing it. I've always seen therapists. It's funny, you know, that people, it used to be the stigma where if you go to the therapist, you know, you need to shrink, you know, you need all this, you know, they used to belittle it, but man, it's like if you break your leg, what are you gonna do? You're gonna go to a chiropractor. You know what I mean?
Right.
A therapist is something that protects and helps your health of your brain, the most important part of your body. You know what I mean? So,
yeah, my therapist actually asked me at one point why I keep coming, what my goal is and everything, and I'm like, I go, well, I look at it like, you know, my brain's a muscle that I got to work out. You know, people that work out all the time, you know, they talk about how they go work out even when they don't want to work out. That's, you know, I feel like it's the same thing with your brain. Like, even when you feel good, like everybody wants to go see a therapist when they're in crisis.
Yeah.
I don't mean everybody, but you know, it's a lot of that's when people
think
do
to do it. Yeah.
I didn't think about that. It's just like with my breathing exercise and meditation. I didn't do it until it was a crisis.
Right. And but then they stop after they feel good. When you, like, once you feel good, it's like, oh, I'm cured of that. That's over. I think it's important to keep going. Like, you know, the last several, I go to therapy once a month. And the last several therapy sessions I've had were all very upbeat, very positive. So, you know, sometimes you're like, that day comes up and you're like, do I really need to go today? You know, but inevitably different things happen. I mean, and like I had a thing today. So a week ago Saturday, I was at this bar that a friend of mine owns, and there's this dude there that is there every time I've ever been there. This dude's there. Never had any issues. Always talked, laughed, took shots together, whatever. A week ago Saturday night, out of fucking nowhere, this dude, this is a huge dude. He's a massive dude. He's like 7 foot. Like, he's that big. No exaggerating. Right? This dude just punches me in the face, like, out of nowhere, completely unprovoked. Like, I didn't see it coming. Nothing. Split my lip open. But that was it. Like, it wasn't. And like, I was talking to my therapist, like, I feel like there's something wrong with me because I was never even mad about it. Like I didn't get a chance to defend myself. I didn't get a chance to fight back. Nothing like that. And the thing is, the dude that owns the bar, like me and this dude are both good friends with him, right? So the dude ends up like by Thursday, he calls me and apologizes, doesn't even remember doing it. You know,
Sure.
Dude was shit faced and was mad about something else, you know, whatever.
Too bad you couldn't tag in Jackson King, man.
Yeah, I know, right? Yeah. Hey, I still got about 4 inches on him. But anyway, the thing was like, it's funny. Now I know, I told my buddies, I was like, well, now we know where the kid got his chin, man. I was like, I didn't,
right.
Like, I'm lucky I didn't get slept. I can't believe I didn't get slept. Like, this is a massive dude and I didn't even see it coming. So like, the chin ain't been tested in a good 20 years. So at least I know the chin's still good, right? I've always been able to take a punch. But
done that, man.
But anyway, I was telling her, I was like, I don't, and I was when I talked to him about it, and me and him ended up at the bar that night having a couple drinks and eating and whatever. Like it's all good. But it was like I don't understand. I was like, I feel like something's wrong because I was never mad. It never, like, I literally think it's funny. It's so ridiculous to me that this dude just punched me for no reason.
Did you know? Did you ever find out the motive or what made him just?
No, because he doesn't know.
Oh, wow.
Like it was like a blackout thing, right? And
sure.
Well, a couple of people that were there that night said that he had that night said something about me slapping the bar. Which I would have never been doing out of rudeness. It would have been because I was laughing or something. But
right,
maybe in his brain, it's his, you know, it's our buddy's place, protecting the place. It looks like maybe it looks like I'm yelling at the bartender. I don't know.
Could have been a flashback, man. Like
yeah, something that happened a long time ago. Yeah, who knows? But I genuinely was never angry, even in the moment, even right instantly after I got hit. I was just kind of like, what the fuck?
Well, there's got to be a moment of shock there when someone just you know, I mean, just steals on you like that. I mean,
and it didn't even. I don't even remember it hurting. It never even hurt.
Well, that was probably the alcohol that you had in your body.
That had something to do with it.
That was the your distillery. That's
right. Yeah, you had too much honey whiskey.
I definitely bled a little more profusely, I'm sure.
Yeah,
but yeah, it was just weird to me, and you know, a couple of people different. I've said it to more than one person, and a couple of them were like, "No, there's nothing wrong with you. You just like in the moment you didn't get a chance to react." So, which is a good thing. I mean, honestly, I'm glad that happened because I'm still not a small dude, and two big ass dudes start rumbling in this place like something's getting knocked over, broken. Some innocent bystander's probably gonna get knocked over and injured, or you know, a number of things. But most importantly, it could fuck up your buddy's livelihood. That's the shit that gets liquor license taken and shit like that. So like,
that's absolutely true, man.
You know, I mean, I'm glad it went down the way it did. I'm sure he's glad he hit me and not somebody else. I mean, I didn't even think about pressing charges or doing anything like that. Like,
but that's a great thing about having a therapist too, that you know, where you could go to and like you don't know the answer, but hopefully somebody else can translate to you and make sense. You know what I mean? It's like, you know, I've asked, you know, my therapist before, you know, hey, I did this. Why did I do that? Does it make me, you know, does it make me, you know,
am I a fucking sociopath?
It's sometimes, man, like I take
as comics, we're easy targets for those labels.
I take a lot of things personally, man. Sometimes I think that's a part of it. Like I internalize so much, and as a comic, you know, like I remember seeing an interview one time, like Chris Rock telling Jim Norton or something like that about, you know, of course we're going to overthink things. We're comics. We internalize everything, and I felt like I've done with my teaching and a lot of stuff that I've done, do good works, you know, raising money for different causes and all this stuff. I always try to practice. I always try to do things good to bring back good karma to me. And sometimes when I get my integrity questioned, that really hits me hard, man. Like, you know, when I have people trying to almost like saying, "Oh man, all these people love you, they admire you, and all this stuff." But I see through you. I think you're a fraud. I'm like, that shit stops me in my tracks, man. And it really sometimes I'll go to my therapist. Like, I ask myself sometimes, like, am I the bad guy? You know what I mean? Like, am I? You know, like I try to help people. I try to. Sometimes I go even above and beyond. You know, like something like my students and stuff. I go beyond their class and I want to see them succeed because I have a lot of students that are getting way more work than me, and I love that feeling. You know what I'm saying? And I try to set them up for success. And a lot of times, you know what I mean? I even pass the class, like for certain ones that are applying, I feel like I have the talent and the teachability. I really want to really help them get a career off in this. And I do so many things with other people's interest in mind so much before me, you know what I mean? And I consider them way before me. And when I sometimes get that question back, like, you know, when people put it to me like, you know, the question.
You're doing it for yourself.
Yeah. I mean, but like, I sit there and think, I was like, there's so many times where I could have took the money or I could have did this or that, or I could have just lied to you or whatever, or I could have just did all this and that. And then, you know, I mean, people, I have a lot of people in this area too. A lot of my former students that I taught that are just, you know, they got out there, they got stuck in that open, you know, Bill, a lot of people get stuck in that open mic culture and they never go anywhere professionally. So when they don't get the success as quick as they want it, well, damn, I got to go back and blame my comedy teacher. You know, he told me not to say an F word as an opener. You know what I mean? Pissed the headliner off. Can't be my fault. It's got to be my comedy teacher who told me exactly not what to not do that same shit. You know what I'm saying? And you know, why ain't I on Jimmy Fallon yet? You know what I mean? And when things like that, or my, you know, what if I had certain motives, dude, I'd turn like that. That hurts me, man. You know what I mean? That shit hurts.
Well, a lot of guys get into that frame of mind just because there's always an example of someone that didn't follow any of the rules, quote unquote. Like when you're teaching people or giving them advice when they're just starting out, you're basically giving them advice to get their foot in the door of that level to where they are getting paid and considering making a living, considering trying to get more work. You can't take them further than that.
Yeah, and that's why I don't do a stand-up 102 or nothing.
Yeah,
like
exactly.
That.
So as soon as they're to that point, it's on them after that, right? And then
absolutely
they see guys that never gave a fuck about whether or not they use the F word in front of whatever headliner, whoever, doesn't even matter, right? Some guy made it by not giving a fuck. Rich and famous now, never gave a fuck. Well,
yeah, Doug Stanhope does it, so why can't I? You know what I mean?
Yes, exactly. Doug Stanhope also went through a lot of lean years from walking people, and he stuck to his guns, and we all love him as comics. We love Stanhope, right?
Yeah.
But there's only one Stanhope, and there's 3,000 Bill Blanks.
Yeah.
And we're trying to, when you're at this level, Bill Blank's level is where you're trying to get to. You're not, like, you're trying to work. Most of us are just trying to work, and that's what most of you are going to be. Now, if rich and famous is what you're going for, great, go for it. If that's your goal, you're probably going to blow your head off someday.
Yeah, and you know, in this area too, in the Virginia Beach area for quite a long time, I've been like a big fish in a small pond. And you know, one time I was producing like 5 shows outside the Funny Bone, but I was actually like promoting the Funny Bone at those rooms. So I had a lot of opportunities for comics, and I prioritize most of the time my students because I know the material, I know what they're going to give me, I know they could take criticism. So yeah, I'll book them on shows. So I began to get it from a lot of local comics. Tim Loulies is the gatekeeper, or they actually gave me a nickname, and it came as a joke, but they gave me the nickname of the Death Star of Hampton Roads comedy, right? And, so
that's no moon.
Yeah, so you know, getting called the gatekeeper and stuff used to really bother me too. And it's like, you know, these comics, some of these comics are like, well, fuck it, man, I can't make it here in Hampton Roads because of Tim Loulies. he has the lock on everything. He has the keys to the Funny Bone stage. As I didn't, but they assume that he's got the keys to the Funny Bone stage. All this shit. I'm gonna move to New York fucking city and I'm gonna blow up. Well, motherfucker, there are 200,000 Tim Loulies in New York City, and they went up there and it was just like grand opening, grand closing, baby. It was like they couldn't get past their open mics, the open mic stage. You just went from Hampton Roads where you could get paid opportunities for 7-8 minutes. And then now you're up in New York City where you got to bring 7 to 8 people into the door to buy 2 menu items just so you can get on a fucking shitty open mic. You know what I mean?
You got to stand outside the park with handfuls of flyers.
Good move, jackass. Now you're back in Hampton Roads in 6 months, living back here again. You know what I'm saying?
And you talked all that shit on your way out.
Right.
Yeah, exactly.
You know.
You think I was holding the gate now? Watch this.
Yeah.
That shit still, and I shouldn't even be saying this just in case some of these guys watch this shit and they're like, yeah, I got to them. Because I used to put my armor up and just not address them. You know what I mean? I still don't do that. Like if they take shots at me on social media, I don't address it. I let them do themselves. So because I don't give them a platform. But it gets me. It's really, I go back to like, there's an old, I guess I'm saying this, I got to it because there's old in AEW, your son would know, it was a CM Punk MJF storyline where CM Punk was like, he's playing the baby face, he's the good guy. And he's like, but he started questioning, he's like, I look in the mirror every morning, I've been looking in the mirror lately saying, am I the bad guy? You know what I mean? And I know I'm good and I know my intentions are good, but when I get that put towards me, man, that hurts. And Bill knows, and a lot of people know, mental illness, stand-up comedy draws people with mental illnesses. You know what I mean? It draws, and I know you've seen a lot of crazy shit, a lot of crazy people that should have never put a microphone in their hand. But it draws us in. It's an art that pulls us there, because it's a great form of therapy and all that stuff. So you get some wild people, but we're all fucked up to get on stage and actually tell jokes, and so especially if you're honest and you're coming from a place of originality of your own personal life experiences, you gotta be fun. You gotta be crazy in some way. You know what I'm saying? And but it gets to me sometimes. It's much.
The idea of it is really crazy. Just the whole the idea of it's nuts.
Yeah.
Like, I want to circle. Oh, go ahead, Bill.
Well, I was just gonna say. I remember there was an old, and I hate to bring up Louis C.K. in a complimentary way right now. I feel like that's illegal in comedy, but there was an old Louis C.K. bit about people complaining on a plane, like they're bitching about it. And he's like, wait a minute, this whole thing is fucking crazy. Like, you're inside this tube. You're like, you should just be screaming the whole time. Like, and that's exactly like that encompasses that same idea. You know what I mean? Like the whole idea of stand-up at all is crazy if you think about it.
Yeah,
the guy that goes or the girl that goes and grabs the mic to do that.
Yeah, absolutely.
I want to circle back. We'll take our last break from Brown Dogs Farms, but I want to circle back on what you guys talked about just now about comedy and therapy, and maybe think of a time that you were kind of, maybe it helped you, right? Let's put a spin of positivity on it. Maybe you were having a bad night, something like that. You did a bit, and let's see if it turned it around for you. So we're going to take this break, and then we'll come back with that question. All right.
Brown Dogs Farm are Norwalk, Iowa-made hot sauces and dressings. Brown Dogs Farm was born out of the dream to emulate the simple life of Rob's grandparents, who inspired him with their hard work and abundant gardens. Rob and Amanda set out to create a unique blend of fruit and pepper that would satisfy the part of the brain that craves great flavor without sacrificing the spice of the peppers. Sweet, but still packing heat. With combinations like jalapeno green apple, habanero peach, cherry rhubarb reaper, and other great flavor combinations, there is a spice and flavor that is right for any party or get-together. BDF also has homemade versions of their classic and spicy ranch that are one of a kind. You can order all of those and more online at www.browndogsfarm.com and ask your local grocery to stock up.
All right, we're back. Again, thanks to both our sponsors, especially Brown Dogs Farms. We did a couple days ago. I did a little taste test with Jordan on my daily podcast, and I told him to make sure that he, even though it may not be something that he liked, to make sure he gave it a compliment. So when I asked him what the first one tastes like, he blurted out Satan's butthole. I had to give him a quick rundown on how advertising works. So.
By the way, are you guys big? I know you had the distillery too. You guys whiskey drinkers?
I'm not. I think
I am. Yeah, a little bit. Yep.
Yeah, bourbon. I just quitting. I had I got into the game, I think around, I thought it was about 8 years at first, but I think it's close to it. I got in around 2015, 2016. And I just now, because I can't drink for so long. I figure if I go a year and a half, I might as well quit altogether. I just moved some really great bottles, a collection that I've been building over those years. Mm-hmm. I even drove to a couple states, you know what I mean, to meet people and all that stuff, and I'm incriminating myself right now because we're a government-controlled alcohol state. But,
no Sundays.
Yeah, back on probation for me. So it's you know what I mean.
It bootlegger.
It was hard, but yeah, I mean, I was drinking the 130 proof shit because a lot of people don't know what bourbon meant. Your bourbon, you can drink the 140 proof, and it's just as smooth as it's 80 proof. So, but yeah, man, I didn't know that you guys, if you guys went to the bourbon game, not a whiskey game. So,
I haven't stepped up to bourbon yet. I love a good whiskey. I'm working my way into the bourbon world.
Scotch now?
Nope, I've yet to find Scotch that I can handle. I'm a newbie at this. So
you're the Tennessee whiskey. Then I guess. You know?
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah. So before we took that break,
I drink rum. I don't like whiskey.
I was a big rum fan too, man. I love some rum, and I love the rum.
Just Bacardi though. I don't like the spice shit.
Oh, I love the rum. The rum aged in bourbon barrels too. That's perfection. I love that shit too.
Yeah,
that does sound good.
Yeah.
Before the break, we were talking about how you guys are sometimes comedy helps you with therapy, and I posed a question about maybe a time that you had a routine and maybe something turned around for you. So, Bill, let's start with you. You got any stories like that?
Well, I mean, when you're going through some really hard life changes, I mean, like, you know, when I was going through my divorce, you know, post-COVID, post lockdown, you know, finally getting back on stage and, you know, all that, I felt like shit all the time, like 100% of the time. I didn't even want to go get on stage really, but I kind of had to. So like being on stage is the only time I felt good. It didn't turn it around for me. I mean, when the show was over and I felt like shit again. Yeah. But just I remember the first time I went on stage after everything went down, and I was concerned because I was headlining a show. So I had to do an hour, and I hadn't been on stage in a long time. And I remember being slightly, worried about getting through the hour, having my material. But I remember physically looking at my foot touch the stage, like as I was going up on stage, and I watched my foot hit it. And when my foot hit it, it was like I was home all of a sudden. Like I hadn't been home this whole time. I ain't been home. And then I was home, and I got through the show. I had a great show. I was firing off on a lot of cylinders I didn't expect to be. I mean, crowd work wise, shit in the room, whatever. But then, yeah, I mean, once the show was over, it was just kind of back to, But man, that hour was fucking serene.
Absolutely. I have a similar experience. It wasn't, I know you talk about how you were going through your divorce. This is about 10 years ago. And I was going through a very bad, at the time, very, 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 very worst in my life, heartbreak. And it was, when I got on stage, I was slated to do 30 minutes. And when I got on stage, I felt like time didn't exist anymore. It's like this world didn't exist. Me on that stage in that audience was everything to me. And it was like you said, man, like you're not better. It doesn't turn around anything. Like it's not a career defining. Maybe you get off stage, just you go back to that. So it's like when you're up there, you don't want to get off. You know what I mean? You want to stay there forever, and it's kind of
life. Yeah, life starts over again once you get off.
Yeah, so it's like almost like when you're approaching your closing bit, you're like, no, slow it down and enjoy this shit. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. And I had a similar situation with a student that I just had, and she's extremely talented, man, here in Virginia Beach, extremely talented. And I don't want to really put too much of her stuff out there, even though I'm not going to name her name or anything like that, but she almost quit right before the graduation show, and I started flipping. I remember I got a text for her on New Year's Eve morning, and I was hungover as shit. And when you're hungover, it's the last time you want to get your anxiety up. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Text from her, it's like, I don't think I could go through
anxiety.
This, blah, blah, blah. I don't think I could go through with this. And I just sent her a text that says, listen, whatever you're going through, you need this now more than ever. I was like, you got to finish this out. Came this far, you got to finish this out. I said, listen, I was like, I want you to take another day to reconsider this. I'm going to go quiet now. And luckily I get a text back from her. She says, okay, well, can my 15-year-old daughter come on? I was like, absolutely. I'll make that happen with the club. You got it. I was like, you know what I'm saying? And she showed so much appreciation to me after that, going through it, because she got up there and crushed it. I had her finishing at the end of the order of the students. She got up there and crushed it just like I knew she would. And she shared the same thing with me. She said, when I was up there, she was like, she's like, all the rest of my problems, they were gone. They didn't exist anymore. You know what I mean? And I love that about comedy, man. It's especially when you can get, in me and Bill's position where we're afforded a lot more time on stage than others. You know what I mean? I feel like we're privileged to that fact. We stayed in the game this long and been able to build an act that will allow us to get that much time on stage, because every minute when you're going through some bad shit, and it doesn't matter if it ain't got to be heartbreak. It could be fuck the IRS is auditing you, whatever you got, whatever you're foreclosing your house. It could be you losing your job. It could be anything. To get that time on stage, man, and be able to just it's like you're stepping into another dimension. You know what I mean? It's like stepping aside from this plant and going into. I'm not going to get into my Art Bell shit with you guys. You know what I'm saying? You don't want me to start talking about aliens and all that shit. But I just maybe I could get contracted with Three Beards Media, and maybe I could do my own little paranormal shit or something like that. But I'm just saying.
Hey, we'll get
do you believe in ghosts?
Fuck yeah, absolutely, man.
You do?
Yeah, dude. You really want me to go down this rabbit hole? I'll say some crazy shit.
We don't have. I mean, we don't have that much time left. I was just curious about an adult believing in ghosts. Was all.
I believe in ghosts. I believe that Jesus was an alien. I believe that. I'm just saying, if you're not from this earth, you're a fucking alien, man. And I believe that we were actually our DNA has been. Look, man.
You think we're being farmed for parts?
Hey, man. Everything's on the table to me, man. Hey, I got a good friend of mine who's a flat earther. I don't criticize him for believing that. We don't fuck. I may entertain it or whatever, but I don't write it off.
Oh, I'm criticizing a flat earther.
I don't write anything off, man. I don't write it, dude. That's a whole other episode, man. I really enjoy this, man. But yeah,
that's about as delusional as an Iowa fan thinking that Brian Ferentz is going to score more than 25 points a game next year.
Oh man,
son of a bitch! You always find a way.
I do. I know. It's my one talent on this podcast is the way to poke the bear. That's it.
By the way, I got to say, you're a Bears fan, man. I grew up actually. My second idol growing up was next to John Riggins was Walter Payton.
Okay, so
I used to love watching the Fridge.
I'll show you this sweatshirt.
Oh shit! Yes.
So
man, what a guy to watch when that was as a kid, man. Him, the Fridge, the old Bears.
Yeah.
I gotta say, if there was
don't get me started on the Fridge. I hate that fucker.
Oh really, man?
Yeah.
Shit, dude,
he stole a touchdown from Walter in the Super Bowl.
In Little League football, they used to on the goal line. They used to give me, and I was a pretty chunky kid then. When I was a kid in high school, I was in great shape, but as a kid, literally, I was really big. They used to run a fridge play for me where I'd be the running back and I'd fly out through the goal line, man. I used to love that shit, man. So the fridge was like my fridge.
I liked him up until he scored that touchdown and Walter didn't get
That's
one.
my.
I hated him ever
You
since.
should hate Ditka then. That ain't Fridge's fault.
Oh, I do. I hate Ditka too.
The Bears.
That's right.
Oh yeah.
We'll fuck up that first round draft choice. I guarantee.
Iowa Hawkeyes.
Then I will need some therapy.
Iowa Hawkeyes 25, Bears 2. Tree. Bears tree. Captain Kirk Ferentz.
We'll have a whole. I can't wait until next year. I seriously cannot wait.
A lot of I noticed a lot. So a lot of Iowa fans are Bears fans, right? I know Seth Rollins is from Iowa, Davenport.
Yeah,
he's a big Bears fan.
I think it's pretty much a melting pot in this state.
It is. It's like it's Vikings, Bears, Packers, Chiefs. Basically.
Yeah.
Cowboys. A lot of Cowboys fans.
There are a lot of Cowboys.
There's a lot.
Cowboy
Because
fans
there's a
all over
lot
the
everywhere.
country.
Yeah.
I did Cowboys material at the Comedy Store in L.A. and they, and I still got got the room riled up. You know what I mean? In fucking Los Angeles. You know what I'm saying?
Oh yeah, dude. Hey, well, Latinos are either Cowboy or Raider fans, pretty much across the board.
They're everywhere across the country. Yeah. So.
No, it's I mean, here's the thing about you can't call us bandwagon fans anymore. We ain't won shit in 30 years.
I know.
Like,
yeah.
So when somebody says something about Cowboys and bandwagons and shit, I'm like, what the fuck are you talking about?
When your last Super Bowl highlights come on a VHS tape, you're not bandwagon fans. That's the truth.
Yeah. Well, I love how Cowboy fans sit on Washington fans like, when's the last time you won the Super Bowl? I was like, 4 years since your last one? You know what I'm saying? Or something like that. And I was like, so you're not that, So yeah, man. But this has been I gotta say, man, thank y'all so much for having me on, because this has been therapeutic in itself. This has been therapy in itself to chop it up with two guys that want to talk about stuff like this.
Hell yeah, man.
You know what I mean? And
what it's all about.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? And I like what y'all doing too about how you're saying you're trying to create a community where maybe those that aren't fortunate enough to have medical insurance can hopefully maybe see something like this, and maybe to help them. You know what I mean?
Chime in, participate, like ask questions, anything. I mean, one thing I realized there was a while there where I was going to like AA meetings and stuff. Like this is like 7-8 years ago, and I never really considered myself an alcoholic, but I was just trying to save my marriage at the time, whatever I could do. But I realized it was like therapy. I mean, you were in there with a group of people and people were sharing stories, and you'd hear a lot of bullshit, repetitive, bullshit speak from the people that are just trying to get through their probation and get a paper signed or whatever. But for the most part, there'd be meetings, and it was it was like free group therapy. I mean,
right.
So I got a DUI back in 2012, and it was funny because what had happened with me was I was at I left a show that I was just watching. A friend of mine's a support, and I didn't drink all night. And then I go over to party at a friend of mine's house, and I down an entire bottle of Ciroc. Right, and I tell y'all, I can drink things that would put most people into alcohol poisoning in the hospital. I do that shit. A 750 milliliter ain't nothing to me. So I did a whole bottle of Ciroc. I drive around the corner to see if another friend of mine's home. It was late in the morning. And then the next thing I know, I'm getting hit with a salt pack on my nose. And I wake up, I'm like, what the fuck? So I was with my car in gear, pointed towards a house, almost about to go into the yard with my foot on the brake. I passed out. A lot of people are like Bruce Smith is from this area, right? And it's notorious thing where he got popped with a DUI because he passed out at a stoplight, right? So I had my foot on the brake, car in gear, pointing towards another house. When I got woke up, I just remember the cop. As soon as I woke up, the cop reached over and put my car in the park. I went like, holy shit. So anyway, so I had to go because it was my first DUI, whatever. My only DUI, but I had to go to AA, right? And it was funny, everybody. I was sitting in the very back at the last seat, and everybody could say, okay, we want to go around the room. We want to see how it is that you got pulled, right? It gets out of the way to me, and I was like, well, I wasn't pulled. I was found. You know what I'm saying? I was like, It was like, yeah, that AA shit was wild. You hear a lot of people, and a lot of them are in there just to, like I said, get the paper, get on the court, whatever. So, but yeah, man, that's a very expensive lesson, man. You know what I'm saying? And that turned into me rather drinking alone at home or somewhere where I can get a cheap Uber. You know what I'm saying?
Oh yeah,
yeah, for sure.
I mean, mine was about that same amount of time ago. It was like 2012, 2013, something like that.
And alcohol is a medicine too. You know what I mean? It's like that's how I coped with my mental illness for so many years. And it's funny, man. It's like I've been over a month now without a sip of alcohol, and I don't fucking miss it, man. Waking up on a Saturday without a hangover, and instead going into the gym. It's like, wow, this is weird. You know what I'm saying? Waking up like, you know what I'm saying? It's been I've enjoyed it, man. You know what I'm saying? Like it's really not even a thought of mine, but for so many years, that's how I medicated. You know what I mean?
It's associated a lot with fun.
Yeah.
Right.
You know, it's kind of hard to go out and have a good time without at least having some kind of little buzz along with everybody else.
Right.
And a lot of that's just because when you're sober, drunk people annoy the fuck out of you. So you just kind of need that
buffer. Need that alcohol buffer.
Fucking win in Rome, you know?
Right. And the thing with me is, man, it's like I'm a quarter German, a quarter English, a quarter Irish, a quarter French. And I do it all. The wine, the beer, the liquor. I'm like a thoroughbred alcoholic. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? It's like it runs in my family, and it definitely ran through me. You know what I mean? But I feel great, man. I don't miss that shit. You know what I'm saying? And now my body is responding better because, you know, this is another thing that causes the mental ill, you know, it makes you, those hangovers get you depressed. Those hangovers get you in your mind. The hangovers make you overthink.
Yeah.
And so, and also it stops your liver creates this chemical that makes you add on weight. You know what I mean? When you're in that hangover phase and all that stuff. And so for many years, that's how my health slipped, and I let myself go, you know, because right after high school, man, you know what I'm saying? I went from, you know what I'm saying, playing basketball, soccer year round, to just living off of selling weed and drinking an entire 24 pack of natural ice a night. And back then, you know, in your 20s, you didn't have hangovers.
Right.
You know what I mean? You didn't have them. So you felt like Superman, like, fuck, I could do this. Hell, I'll do this again tonight. You know what I'm saying? So it was a nightly thing. And that's just when I totally just let myself go. And there was other shit going on there too that made that happen. But, you know, it's
drinking like Andre the Giant.
Oh, yeah.
Right? No shit. Those are legendary.
Yeah, man.
We talked about comments and people asking questions and so on. So I'm going to read this question from last week that somebody dropped on our YouTube channel, and maybe we'll wrap up with this because it kind of fits into a little bit, Tim, of what you were talking about earlier about relationships. And Monica asked, what is the best approach for women to start the conversation with their man to let them know they're supported?
Fuck, I wouldn't know that. I wouldn't know that. I've never experienced that. Does that happen? Really? Does she? No,
it doesn't happen. That's the point. We need to let them know how to make it happen.
Can you give me her at? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Let me meet. Was it Monica or whatever? Yeah, I didn't know women thought that way of men.
Monica does apparently.
Yeah, that's cool.
The thing is, I think a lot of in relationships, and I think this probably happens in general. This isn't necessarily man-woman, but to me, I think that a lot of people, when their partner's going through something, and they're not communicating about it, and you can just tell that obviously something's off, something's wrong, and when they're not communicating about it, you tend to take it personally. It makes you think it's about you. Something's wrong with your relationship. Something's wrong with you or the way they're feeling about you. So I would say the best approach is to, you know, go to them and be like, look, I can tell something's not right. Something's wrong. I want you to know you can be honest with me about it. But do the best you can to not make it about you. Whatever. Don't talk about how the way they're acting is making you feel. Ask them how they feel and what's going on.
That's good, man.
I'll piggyback on that and say judgment, I think, is probably the biggest reason sometimes why men don't say anything, because they're afraid that they may
Makes
think
you
less
look
of them.
weak. Yeah.
Right. Makes them look weak, or they may think less of them.
There's still the man up thing. There's still that's still there.
Yeah. And to know that you're not going to be judged and you'll be supported, I think is the biggest. Sorry, somebody just. Billy made fun of me for crying when.
Oh man!
I'm sorry. I had a really great serious point, and then this comes up, and I got to show it. So
waited to read it, you dumbass.
I read it and started laughing. I'm not very good at this hosting thing. All right, I'm not very good.
Shit.
Oh my god, that's because Bill's a prick, Sean. Don't you know that?
Let me tell y'all something, man. I don't knock on wood. He's still with us, but. I'm trying to. The day that Ric Flair goes,
that's gonna be a rough one for you,
dude. He's on. I mean, I love Ric Flair, but that dude is living on borrowed time.
But still, it's like, yeah. And I got a couple favorite others, but man, I've thought about that before. It's like it's gonna be major. It's gonna feel like almost close family member level loss.
Have you watched his? Have you watched his documentary?
The newest one I haven't seen. They've made like 3 or 4 of them.
So yeah, the newest one that's on Peacock is pretty good. It's amazing.
I need to watch that. I need to watch that, man, because
he talks a little bit about that, about how he's survived so much and where his life's at now, and how he can't believe that he's still here.
You just talk about the personification of an entertainer, man, and you talk about I was talking about the alter ego earlier, and I just know I saw in a documentary made several years ago is how this guy created, like it was like he survived, he skated death several times, and then close to like in his mid 20s, maybe close to 30, is when he created the alter ego Ric Flair, and he got sucked into that alter ego, and Ric Flair is who he is. Like I forgot his other name, something Fleer or something.
Fleer, yeah,
Fleer.
Fleer.
He became Ric Flair. He can't escape that alter ego. That alter ego sucked him in, and that's him. I mean, so I'm just saying, man, like, and Riggins too. I mean, there's just some of those people, those idols that like you said, live on part of the times. I was like, hey, man, I think I even shed a tear when Walter Payton passed, man. You know what I'm saying? But it's going to be.
That's what I was getting ready to ask. Who do you guys have a celebrity death that you cried over that you never met them? Like I actually, I probably. Yeah, I can recall a million times making fun of people for crying over the death of someone they didn't know.
Well, not someone they didn't know, Bill, but I'll tell you what, man. I worked with John Witherspoon quite a bit.
Oh, yeah, but that's different. You had a relationship.
Yeah, me.
I'm talking about no relationship whatsoever, just a celebrity that for whatever reason it hit you.
You know what? I would say probably not necessarily because I loved him so much, but because the overpowering outpouring of love for him was probably when Kobe died.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah, you know what? I have to say
that affected me a little bit.
Watching the people,
were so touched by him. And then when he was playing, I hated him, right?
Yeah.
Because he was not on my team and nobody could ever beat him. And he seemed kind of like a prick. But when people talked about the love that he had for the game and things like that, and being so dedicated to your craft like that, that one probably
I was
a little more emotional.
I'm a Laker fan. A
bandwagon jumping motherfucker, are you?
I grew up a
Lakers,
fan.
Cowboys,
and Oakland A's. What the fuck? What do you want?
I didn't like Kobe. I didn't like Kobe.
I can't believe you're not a Yankee fan. That would be the trifecta of douchebags.
I didn't like Kobe either. And I'll say it's like I hated Jordan. And then when Kobe came along, I had more respect for Jordan. And now that LeBron came along, I have much more respect for Kobe even before he passed. But I'm just telling you, like, I really, like you were just saying, you hated how good he was. You really, like, people were hating on Kobe. But then once he passed and you realized like, and you look back on his career of, like you said, the dedication, how he lived and breathed it. There was nothing more important to him on this earth than basketball. And that really, that tribute and everything. Yeah. If I'd have to agree with that, that was something that really got to me, man. Really.
George Carlin. I cried when George Carlin died.
Oh, I could see that. Yeah.
He was my hero. And then I was in 7th grade when Magic announced that he had HIV, and I cried then.
Yeah. You know, it's funny. It's funny because I've been listening
I thought
to
he was going to die, man. I thought he was going to die.
Yeah, right?
Yeah, you did. Back in those days, man, AIDS.
He's going to die.
He was dying.
Everybody has AIDS now. You know what I mean? Like, everybody has AIDS now. It's no big deal. But yeah, you thought it was.
Yeah, everybody has AIDS now. It's no big deal.
Yeah, everybody's got AIDS. Fuck
If
it.
you take anything away
Well,
from
that's
this,
the old South Park bit. AIDS. Everybody's got AIDS. South Park.
That song from Team America. Sing that song where everybody has AIDS.
Yeah. That's what I'm talking about. Yeah. Everybody's got AIDS.
Oh my God. Well, this podcast has delved into a terrible section and segment. Tim, thanks so much for coming on. It was an honor to talk to you and meet you, and I'm so glad that we're connected on social media. So when you do happen to pop on every once in a while, we can converse and so on.
I'd love to come back and talk about, you know what I mean, the ancient aliens and the secret civilizations and how we're
oh my God, dude.
And how fluoride is cutting off a receptor to reach our peanut.
Oh my God. We'll just create a whole channel for you, my friend.
Yeah, too bad. Yeah, let me have it, man. Too bad I didn't get to talk about the balloon. Shit.
Oh,
yeah,
dude.
right.
Hey,
I know.
Trust me, we got plenty of time for the tinfoil hat episode.
Let's do it. Let's
build an audience first.
Yeah.
Yes.
Before they go, okay, yeah. Definitely some mental illness going on this podcast.
Man, it's been a blast with y'all guys tonight, man. This is fun, man. It's probably been one of the best podcasts.
Where can people find you at?
At Big 44 on all platforms, and at Big 44 Comedy, 44 the numbers, Big 44 Comedy, and also if you're in the Richmond, Hampton Roads area, next week we have the Funny Bone Comedy School starting, which eventually soon will be going online to reach globally. It'll be doing online teaching and stuff like that. Also, but like if you're in those areas, our introduction class here in Virginia Beach, in Richmond, that's first. It will be Monday, February 13th. Then, here in Virginia Beach, in the Virginia Beach area, the introduction class will be on Wednesday, February 15th. So before you even decide to pay any money to enroll, you can come out and hear me talk about it, answer questions, all that stuff. I appreciate the platform tonight, guys, and to get myself out there.
Oh yeah, man!
Awesome.
Definitely appreciate you coming on, telling your story, and this will be. We'll definitely have you back. I mean, it's going to be hopefully 100%. A little more guest driven going forward. So we'll definitely do that. And nothing but love. Thank you everybody who tuned in, commented, and for everybody that's gonna listen later. We appreciate y'all. Let's keep building this thing and keep the mission strong, keep the mission where it's supposed to be.
Right.
And it's all about keeping ourselves honest and accountable and normalizing men's mental health and talking about it. So
for everybody, right, I'm showing Tim's Twitter feed, and I just would like to point out his banner photo is a troll with the Cowboys.
I really don't do much Twitter anymore. I don't do Twitter. I mostly
that's my favorite.
Instagram and Facebook at Big 44 Comedy. But yeah, I thought that's pretty cool. You pulled that up for Bill. So
yeah, actually, never mind. Fuck y'all. I'm out.
All right, with that, we are going to close it out. Everybody have a great week. Bill, thanks for hopping on again.
Baby.
Great guest. Love you.
All right. Much love, everybody. Peace.
We are out.